This is the Virtual Solar Pro podcast with your host, Jarrett McCallister.
What's up and welcome to the Virtual Solar Pro podcast. I am your host, Jarrett McCallister, and I am flippin' excited to introduce you to today's guest. This man is an absolute legend, all right, in the solar industry. He started in the solar game back in 2017 and now has over 1,000 installations under his belt. He's worked with most of the major players in the industry, including Freedom Forever. He's now with Powur and sits on the Executive Leadership Council. And last year, he earned the prestigious $1 million jacket. In 2022, he made the switch to virtual solar sales and has stopped going into houses completely. And the reason that is because now he runs his entire business from halfway around the world in the Philippines, where he's living the dream. He's recognized in the industry as one of the best one-call closers and is no stranger to a karaoke machine. It's WallyWorld, and we're all just living in it. My friend, Mr. Wally Arita, what is up, my friend? How are you, dude? You look great.
I'm better than most, not as good as others, man, and I'm living it up in the Philippines.
Yeah, you are. Look at that background, bro. You're in freaking paradise.
Tropical island, man. This beautiful plants and flowers grow wild here.
Dude, so freaking cool. So you're in the Philippines right now. It is 6 p.m. my time, Pacific, and you're like time traveling, right? You're in the future.
I'm 16 hours ahead of you. It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday in the Philippines, and it's 10 p.m. Friday where you are.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's
Thank
cool.
God
Yeah, man.
for Google.
Yeah, when we were trying to arrange this and set up times and we were going back and forth, you're like, yeah, I can do this day. I'm like, that day, you're like, no, dude, I'm like 16 hours ahead of you. I thought you were behind me in time. But then we got on the Google Calendar. It sorted it all out. So that's
You're
cool.
Back to the future with me.
Totally. So let's take a ride into Wally's world, man. First of all, you're in the Philippines. So what island are you? Where exactly are you?
I'm in the big island in the island of Luzon. I'm actually about, I would say, 3 hours from Manila. If you take an early morning drive, say at 5 in the morning from Manila, you will arrive at my place around 3 o'clock or 7:30. Now, if you leave Manila at like 9 or 10 in the morning, you won't get here till 6 hours later. So that's how bad the traffic is in the Philippines. That's why I live in the country, because I hate the traffic. I'm at a place where it's virtually at the countryside. So this is the place. I'm in a little town called Lucban, Quezon. It's a third-class municipality. I would say about maybe 40,000 people at the most. And right now, because I'm living in a long-term Airbnb right now. That's where I am, in the middle of town. And the reason for that is I'm building a house. And until the house is built, I live in this long-term Airbnb. So I've been here for like, I would say 5 months now. And maybe I have another 4 months before I can actually move to my house.
Yeah. So how big is the Airbnb that you're staying in? Describe it for us.
It's a rooftop suite in the middle of town. It's a 1-bedroom. It's like a big hotel suite. It's 1 bedroom, maybe 80 square meters, and I have two queen size beds in it. So it's enough for me and my wife. And the beautiful thing is, even though I'm in the middle of the city, this Airbnb is exactly what you're looking at. This is my backyard. Once in a while you'll hear motorcycles passing by because I'm in the middle of town, but even in the middle of town, you're looking at green backdrop like this. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
place
So,
to be.
and for those of you who are watching this either on YouTube or on Spotify, yeah, you could see Wally's lush, gorgeous tropical background. You can hear some of the birds in the background. And no, it's awesome. As far as, so, you've traveled back and forth a few times. How long is the flight out there to the Philippines from the
It,
West Coast?
it's 16 hours. 16 hours with
Brutal.
like a 2-3 hour layover. If you go fly direct, it'll be 12 hours direct from LA to Manila. But if you want to go, the cheaper route, you can probably save another $500-$600 like having a stopover. Then you have to stop somewhere like maybe Honolulu or maybe even Taiwan or Seoul, South Korea, and you lose about 2-3 hours that way. But when there's two of you traveling and you save like $1,200 for the two of you, I mean it's worth a 2 hour wait.
Yeah, for like $400 or $500. Absolutely. No, that makes sense, man. So yeah, so it's just you and your wife, who I believe you got married. Was it last year?
We got married last year in the Philippines.
Awesome, congrats.
It's prior to this stay, we would travel every year. We'd travel to the Philippines. We'll spend about, our schedule was we'll spend 11 months in the U.S. and then we'll spend 1 month in the Philippines and just go on vacation. That was our schedule. And then 2 years ago, when we came here, that's when I found out, I realized for the first time in the many years I've been traveling to the Philippines every year, that they finally had an infrastructure, a Wi-Fi infrastructure that worked. And that's when I told my wife, there's Wi-Fi, I can work here. I don't need to go back to the US. So we were here 2 years ago just for, a 30-day period. And I was in one of the islands in a place called Palawan. If you know what that is, it's heaven. It's paradise in paradise in the
I've
world.
heard of Palawan.
And I was on the beach and I just said, let me try and see if I could book a Zoom call to the Philippines and to the US, see if I can make a sale. So I left my wife in the room. I went out on the beach and started Zoom calling. And I came back in an hour and she said, what happened? I said, the Wi-Fi held up. I made a sale. And I said, let's try again tomorrow. So every day on that beach, I was making a Zoom call and I was selling every single freaking day like I was in California. That's when she and I had a conversation. I said, do we really need to go back to LA? There's no need to rush back. I'm productive. I'm working and we're here in front of the beach. And that's when we decided, let's move, let's buy land. So just like that, we decided to start looking for property. We bought land and then we decided to move to the Philippines. It was 2 years ago and we decided to do this. Exactly 2 years ago, February. And then a year later, after we had bought the land in 2023, that's when we got married. Actually got married 2023 we got married. A year later, and now here we are. We now have property in the Philippines. We bought. It's crazy. We bought 60 acres of land
Wow.
in a rainforest.
Now, dude. Okay, so now, what does 6 acres of land in paradise in the rainforest? What does that cost U.S.?
Not as much as you would think. It's 60 acres is still a lot of property. I mean, you're looking at about
60 acres.
60 acres.
60.
60, yeah. It still costs us, a couple of $100,000. Let me see. Did it? Maybe about $100,000 is what it cost us.
Okay,
to
and then
buy-
and
to
you
buy-
bought it. You bought it with the plans of developing and building your own brand new WallyWorld compound, and so you're like in the middle of construction with that right now, right?
We are in the middle of construction. We bought it to build a house. I mean, my wife and I wanted to live there because as soon as we saw that with, view of the volcano and, green everywhere with no neighbors in sight, we just said this is where we want to live. So we started building in September last year is when we started building, and
Cool.
now I would say we're at like
When's it
40%.
projected to be finished?
We're
40
at
or
40%
40% done?
completed now.
And
And
when do you expect for it to be done?
I'm hoping we move in around maybe about 4 months, maybe around June.
Okay.
It's close,
Cool.
it's close, but we can't wait. I mean, I'm at the site every day,
Oh, I'm
just
sure.
watching it happen. And every time I look at that view of that live volcano in the distance and green all around me, it's like I'm very fortunate to be here. And the reason I'm able to do this is because of the solar business. Power has been
Love
really
it.
good to me. I mean, solar has been good to me. I mean, you said 2017. I actually started right like late 2018 is when I started, early 2019. And but power has been really good to me. With the solar business has been really good to me. But once I moved to power, everything just accelerated. And I also hit it at that time when everything was pushing along, and it was a perfect storm. Everything came together.
Yeah, I think you and I met back in 2020, I feel like it was, at Charles Thompson's house.
No,
Was it
maybe later
2020
than that.
or
I
was it
think about
or
2020,
was it 21?
2021, early 20, yeah, 2021,
Yeah.
late
Yeah,
2021 when I was just starting with power.
okay. Yeah, and when we met, I mean, you were coming in, I think we were doing some masterminds, kind of getting this thing off the ground. And you were recognized as a closer, as a stone cold killer, as far as sales is concerned. And you and I, man, we linked up, and it was like game recognized game, because you came from the old school like me. You have that, that one call close mindset, which it's not easy to do in solar, or people don't think it is. I mean, it's all about the mindset going into it, and taking it that direction. Because my experience, when I was selling ADT, and I sold it for 20 years, doing in-home presentations, we didn't leave the house unless the deal was closed. So it's like the job didn't start until they told you no 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, okay, this is where I earn my paycheck.
Yep.
And you come from the same.
I come from the same mindset, man. To me, when I started doing one sale closes in solar, because prior to power, I was with other companies, and we were going door to door. I mean, we were going in home and selling inside the house. And when I started doing one sale closes, they were looking at me crazy. Said, first, how the hell do you do that? And second, why do you do it? And I said, if a customer is qualified, if a customer has a need, and the customer wants it, why shouldn't I get it done? Get it done. And to me, there's no guilt in selling solar. Solar is the most friendly product that I've ever sold. I would sell solar to my parents if it's done right, if it's presented right with full disclosure, and it's designed properly. I would do it with no guilt at all. That's the reason I go into a house, and even on Zoom calls, I just do one sit closes like this, and there's no feeling of guilt at all, because I know I'm doing them a big favor by switching them from the utility to solar. There's no guilt. That's the reason I do one sit closes. Plus, I've been doing selling for 40 years. I mean, I've trained hundreds of, maybe thousands of salespeople on how to do sales, how to do closing and sales. And to me, coming into solar at the tail end of at my maturity, my career, my sales career, finding the perfect product, and I had the perfect skill set to match with it. It was like a blessing. It was God given. And that's why I do one sit closes every single time.
Yeah, and solar is one of those. It's one of those industries that's truly like a win, win, win for all parties involved, right? It's a win for the homeowner, right? They're saving thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of them having solar on their home. It's a win for the seller, right? I mean, we're rewarded very well for doing our job. The company's rewarded, right? We're getting install partners. They're working. It's helping out the economy, and then it also helps out the environment, right? We're stopping pollutants and helping people go green. It's a win-win-win. Everybody wins when they go solar. So it's
solar. Even the
so it's
environment,
easy.
everybody wins. Now, don't get
It's
me
easy to
wrong.
get behind it.
There are, just like in any industry, there are rotten apples that would just do anything to get a sale, and to me, they should really be kicked out of the industry. I mean, there's no place for them. But the
Sure.
majority of the people that I know that I work with, I would say not even 1% of the people I've known and worked with in solar have been really good, honest reps. And that's what it's all about. If you present it properly, you design it well, and there's a definite need, there's no reason why the customer would not want to get it from you today. You know what I mean? Just get it now. Let's get it over with. Let me start helping you today. Let's not wait
Is that
30 days
that's one
from
of your
now to
lines,
start.
huh?
Exactly. I mean, that's the psychological mindset of somebody who really wants to help people. And that's what we do. We help people. We're like doctors. We tell you stop smoking, but you stop smoking now. Don't stop smoking 30 days from now. Do it now. And that's what we do. We're solar doctors. So we help the environment and we help them. And like I said, there's no guilt, man. No guilt at all. Now, to be a one sit closer, it doesn't come automatically. I mean, it's a skill set. It's something that's learned. I mean, it took me 30 something years to learn it. And I'm still learning. Every day I talk to guys like you. I see training. I pick up a few things. I just had a conversation maybe about 2 weeks ago with our good friend Jonathan Brunaso. I said, I want to see your presentation because maybe I can pick up a nugget or two, to add to my arsenal. So that's how the leaders in the solar industry work. We learn from each other. I mean, I talk all the time to one of our friends, Jordan Shaw. I mean, we toss things back and forth, and he's number one in the company now. Now that I'm in the islands working, almost not even 30% of what I used to do. And he's there, and we kind of help each other. I learn from him, he learns from me. And that's the beautiful thing about this industry. And closing, like I said, it's a mindset. You're not a born closer. No one is born with closer. It's something you learn.
Wally,
you train
speak for
yourself.
yourself. Speak for yourself, bud.
I had to talk a look at you. But it's a skill set you learn. It's a maturity mindset. And that's what it's all about. But you really need to work on getting that sale. I mean, in any business, even in solar, the first thing that you need to do is learn how to close a sale. You can't close a sale. You don't make any money. I mean, you and I work commissions. We don't make money until the sale is closed, until it's installed and it's paid. So I said three things: sold, installed, and paid. And those are the three things that comprise the solar business. A lot of starting salespeople just focus on number one, which is closing the sale. It doesn't end there. Closing the sale is just step one, because I mentioned to a lot of people that solar is a business, just like anything. It's a business, and the business. If you're running a business, it's not about writing as many contracts as you can. I mean, that's the first KPI, is how many deals did you write. But that's not the end all and be all. Because when you're running a business, I mentioned this at PourWorld last year in San Diego at the convention, when I was receiving my $1 million honorary jacket. And I said, if there's one thing I want you guys to remember, is the only measure of a true business is not how many contracts you turned in. It's how much money do you have in the bank account at the end of the day. That's the measure of a business. So The three things I mentioned: sale, install, pay. You got to go to the whole process. Don't stop at just selling. You got to work to get things installed. Work with your installers. Work with the homeowner. Get this thing done and installed. Don't just sell and forget it and move on to the next sale. No, you got to stay in the process, or you just wasted the closed sale if it doesn't install. And then when it's installed, you get paid, and that's where the money starts coming in. But we'll save the juicy part for later, as we get into it. But to me, selling is one, getting paid is the next step, and you got to follow up on that process. That's where a lot of salespeople fail. There's a lot of people quit because they work solar for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, don't make any money because they think it's just writing a deal. You write a bad deal, you're not going to get paid because that guy's canceling, right?
Sure.
So you might as well do it right from the beginning. Find the customer that needs it, find a customer that wants it, design a system that will benefit them in the long run, and then you close the sale. If you don't have those three, don't even bother closing the sale. You can turn in a contract. It's not going to be money for you. You just wasted time, right?
It's
That's the
not
way
going
I
to make
look
it
at
to the
things.
end. No, you're absolutely right, man. And you said people aren't born a as a natural closer, and I would agree with that. I do think that there are some people who are born as natural salespeople, but closing is a skill set that
It's a
you do
science.
learn over
Yep.
time through working with mentors and and studying and working on your craft. Who were some of your mentors that you looked up to where you learned some of these closing skills?
I have one God, one closing God. And I got to tell you, when I came to the US in 1983, I had zero experience. I didn't know what selling is all about. And my buddy invited me to watch this convention at LA Convention Center. He said, "Let's go watch this guy." His name was Tom Hopkins. And I got there and he started talking about how to sell, how to phrase, how to say things in a sequence that will result in a sale. And I said, "Wow, this is a whole new world. This is science." And so Tom Hopkins is my God. After that first, I think there were like 5,000 people in that convention, and we all paid $250 to get in. After that, he offered, a one-on-one class for an elite group of people, like 20 people in a class. If I'm not mistaken, it was like $2,500. And in 1983, I just got to the U.S. I barely had $2,500 in the bank, and then I said, "Do I do this or not?" I decided to invest it. I went into that class, into what we now call a master class, and he drilled us, and I've never looked back since. Even today, the sales trainers that you find, even the new guys like Jeremy Miners of the world, all these new sales trainers. If you look at what they're teaching, it goes back to what Tom Hawkins was teaching 40 years ago. I mean, they're basically using the same techniques, it's just repackaged into a different environment. It's more modern environment, but the techniques are the same. Selling is more of the art of conversation. The art of conversation means it's a two-way conversation. You don't just keep talking, talking, talking. You talk. He says. You wait for him to say something, and then you respond, and then you wait for it to say. It's just like trying to pick up a girl at the bar. You just don't talk, 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 because he's just going to shut up, or shut you out. You try to find, if she responds somehow, then you pick up on the cue and you take the conversation from there. That's the art of selling. So it's, like I said, people are not born sellers. Born, some people are born good conversationalists because they listen. And when you listen, you hear buying signs. Like if you're selling, if you're selling real estate, and the guy says, "I don't know, man, but I see there's a playset in the backyard. I have two kids that could use that playset. You think you think that playset will go, or is it going to stay with the house?" A lot of people just say, "Hey, Oh yeah, of course. It's all yours. You can have the playset, and it's that playset is like $10,000. You get it for free. You don't have to install it. It's all there. So that's what a regular guy will say. Now, a good conversationalist, when he sees, well, when he hears, can that playset stay in the backyard? That good conversationalist will say, "Let me tell you, Mr. McCallister, do you want that playset to stay in the backyard?" And you say, "Of course."
Yes, yeah, I would love
Yes.
to. You know,
Then
I think my
then
kids would
then I
love it.
say, "Wonderful. I will make it happen." It's all about the art of conversation, because you are presenting something just as good, potentially, physically, as financially, as everyone else. When you talk to someone, he's already talked to 5 or 6 people. Now, why would this guy buy from you? There's one reason: because he likes you. And when he likes you, he'll buy from you. And he will only like you if you're a good conversationalist. If you do all the talking, and all he hears is your voice, and so sometimes when you go to presentation, and this guy is not saying anything at all, and I try my best to get a response from him, I said, this guy is not buying because I'm not connecting. You see what I mean? I go back to the example of the girl at the bar. You gotta connect. When you connect, then you can close. But that's what it's all about. That's what closing is all about. Making the connection so he would want to converse with you, engage with you, and do business with you. That's what it's all about. People are not born salespeople. They're born good conversationalists. When you do the sales training from all the trainers that you can find on the internet, you learn the skill sets to maximize on that conversation skill. So you can make this customer decide to do something that will benefit them in the long term, and you in the short term, because you made a sale. But in the long term, they're going to benefit from the product you pushed. That's what selling is all about. That's what closing is. That's the WallyWorld
Absolutely.
playbook.
Yeah.
That's why there's no
You know,
guilt,
and
man. No guilt at all.
what I've come to find is, when it comes to great closers and, great sales, people, professionals, they actually speak a lot less than a regular sales rep. What they do is they ask questions.
Exactly.
And they ask more questions than they talk.
Yep.
Right? Questions are king. They're asking questions, that really get the homeowner or the prospect that can, talk themselves into it, right? You ask the right questions, they're going to talk themselves into making that buying decision, rather than, vomiting on them of all the reasons why. And now you're sounding, you kind of sound desperate when you do that.
You sound
Desperation
obnoxious.
reeks.
You sound obnoxious when you do all the talking. Now, when you're doing selling, there's two distinct things that happen. A customer will not buy when you bombard them with logical reasons why they need to buy it. It's cheapest. We have the best panels, best warranty. We have, the best, the lowest degradation. I mean, you could give them all this technical stuff. That's logical. But people don't buy things on logic. They buy things on emotion. So if you do all the talking and you keep pushing, all these logical things, and I'm the customer, and I'm hearing all these things that are logically correct from you, and if I don't agree with you at the end of it, and you're saying you're 100% right, and I don't agree with it, what does that make me? It makes me wrong or stupid. And no one will want to buy from someone who makes me think I'm wrong and stupid. That's why you don't just keep selling on logic. A lot of times will they, "Oh, I'm the most informed solar person in the world. I know the degradation to the 0.01%." Yes, you do, but you're still obnoxious. So what you do is you sell emotions. People buy on emotions. They use the logic to justify the emotional buy. So don't just say, this is the, like, I learned this firsthand when I was buying a car the first time in the U.S. from the Philippines. I didn't know what sales was, so I was buying a car, and this car was a 1983 red Trans Am with convertible T-tops. It was spinning inside the dealership. And as soon as I walked in, I was just looking at it. I wasn't planning to buy a car. I think I just went out to buy eggs, for my wife. And I ended up there because I was killing time. And this salesman came up to me and said, "You want to take it for a spin?" I said, "I can drive that car?" "Oh yeah, give me a minute." So he pulled it out from the center and put it in driving parking lot. I said, "Let me." He said, "Under the law, I need to drive it off the dealership. Once we're in the road, you can drive it." So he let me drive it, and we were cruising on Santa Monica. And instead of talking about how many horsepowers or power steering or this or that, we were at a stop sign. He said, "Look at those two girls on the other car." Because we had our tops down. He said, "Look at those two girls. They think you're pretty hot right now." I said, "Holy shit, this thing is sold." I mean, that's an example of what I mean about emotional selling. You don't sell the horsepower and all that. You sell what are the benefits of solar? Clean environment. You get free from this utility that's been gouging you for the last 20 years. Like say, Mr. Jarrett, how long have you been with Southern California Edison? It's 30 years. You do realize that the last 30 years I've been racking up your rates. The rate you pay today, is it higher than what you used to pay 20 years ago? Yeah, it's higher.
Of course.
And 20 years from now, it'll still be higher, right? You do realize they've been gouging you for the last 20 years. And do you want them to keep doing that to you for the next 20 years? Let me help you. So it's an emotional sell. That's what I've been doing all my life with different products. I use the same concept, just different products, just a different set of product. And this one is solar. I use it for computers. I use it for software development. I use it for uh, all the products that I built 5 different marketing companies over the last 40 years, and the techniques are the same, just different set of products. So when I look at a product, I just say, what are the emotional pinpoints? What can generate an emotional reaction from the customer? Whenever I see that, that's how I build my presentation. Emotion, sell the emotion. The logic will justify it, but you gotta sell that emotion. Emotion sells, logic justifies it. That's all it is. And
Great
that's all
points,
part
brother.
of being the
Great.
art of being a good conversationalist. You gotta be a good conversationalist. And when I say conversationalist, you say something, you listen, you look for buying signals. Like when they say, "Can it go on this side of the roof?" What do you say? "Of course, it can go on
It
this side of the
can.
roof." No, 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 no.
Yeah.
I said, you say, "Is that where you want the panels to go?" They say, "Yeah, that's where I want it." I'll make sure engineers know it, and I will put in the notes that that's where you want it to be. Boom, first base. Then you keep working and working and working and working. Then when they sign the contract, or when they okay the paperwork, when they approve the agreement, I don't say sign the contract, I say when they approve, "With your permission, I'd like to approve the agreement," or "Let's get your credit approved." When they sign that, they won't even feel the pressure, because there's no pressure, because they made the decision themselves, not me. They said, "I want to do this." A lot of times when I mentor new solar reps, and we start signing contracts and deals done and signed, they say, "What just happened?" The rep will say, "What just happened?" I said, "You got yourself a deal. You got yourself a contract. Now let's get this installed." I mean, getting a contract is one. Now let's get this thing installed. So that's the mindset when I mean close. That is the closing mindset. And to be a good closer, you got to train yourself, man. If you're a brand new person listening into this podcast, it doesn't happen. You got to train yourself. Watch videos, pay people who know how to do it. Talk to mentors, other senior reps that have done it a long time. They will guide you, they'll teach you. It's a very friendly business. There's a lot of business to go around. I mean, every rooftop is like an ATM machine. Just like Charles Thompson said, you see an open rooftop like an ATM machine. And how many rooftops
Cha-ching.
are in the U.S.? Unlimited, So there's a lot of business to go around, but it's guys that know how to close that will make the most amount of revenue. They'll be the most successful. That's why you got to learn how to close. That's key.
Got to
Closing
learn
is
how to
key.
close. Yeah, well, it's closing, and then like you said, it's not just closing the paperwork. That's when the job begins, right? In solar,
Yep.
you got to get glass on the
You
roof,
got
and
to get
I
glass on
feel
the
like
roof.
I feel like that's where a lot of solar reps kind of, they don't quite understand that part. Like, there's a lot of work to do. You sign the contract, but then it's about executing those notes to the project manager, good communication skills, following up, pushing that football down the yard line and getting it to the end zone, all the way till the end. And then not just glass on the roof, but then making sure they get permission to operate. Because
Exactly.
if they get glass on the roof, but then it's not passing inspection and they don't have it on, they're not going to have a good experience. And as we know, and as you know, a good experience leads to referrals.
Exactly. My
And
business is like 80% referrals. Even I would say even 90% referrals. Because I mean, just imagine I have 1,000 installs. I already have 1,000 installs, and I have the names of each one of these people in my database. That's one of the things that I teach people as new reps is you need to get a good CRM. Every conversation you have must be listed in the CRM. And you go to a place, if they sign, you write notes. And then I call them, even if they don't sign, I write notes anyway, because they may be callbacks, and I need to know, if this guy likes fishing, or if he's a hunter, or he loves gun, like Jarrett McCallister. So when I call you, I said, Mr. McCallister, how's that 30 odd six coming? How's that M16? So right, we have this. So those are what I mean. So I have 1,000 customers, and if 1% of this 1,000 customers will think of me every month, that's a lot of referrals already. And I don't need to pay for leads. I don't need to do Facebook marketing. I don't need to do all of that. I just work referrals. Ambassadors. I talk to my customers when I do an install or when I make a sale. I don't stop at the signed contract. I ask for referrals, and I said, Mr. McCallister, I know that you've. We're looking forward to getting you saving a lot of money on solar and just kick that utility in the butt. Get them out of your life. Are there other people that could also use the same savings that you just benefited from today? Oh yeah, my sister, my brother. What? Can you write their names and phone numbers for me? Let me call them for you. So when I call them, hey, your brother Jarrett asked me to call you. Just help him go solar, and he's saving $150,000 over the next 25 years. He thought, but maybe you can also benefit from it. Now, when you work referrals like I do, first of all, they're friendly. They'll talk to you because they were referred by Jarrett. And your chances of closing are way higher than just making a cold call and, hey, you don't know me, but I want to sell you solar. So that's all part of the process is generating business. You generate business, you close the sale, and then you go into the installation and get paid. And that's the cycle that you need to get through. Ambassadors and referrals are the best way. And Power has a wonderful ambassador program. I was one of the first person to jump on it when Charles Thompson announced it, I think 2.5 years ago. And my wife was the first ambassador post that first ever ambassador registered was my wife. And I sold her house with Charles as my mentor. And Charles would know this. Charles did the sale for me. I was just watching him. And when I watched Charles do the sale for me, I already had, you know, 400 or 500 deals in my back pocket. I was already a good solar rep in the industry. I had experience, but I still watched him do it because I wanted to learn things from him. And I did. I learned a lot of things from Charles. First and only time I mentored with him. And so that's the process of working, not working hard, but you got to work hard, but you got to work smart also.
Smart,
You got
working
to work
smart.
smart. I used to knock on doors, believe it or not. When I started with solar, I was a lead generator. I wasn't even a closer. I just did it because I wanted to learn. I mean, by that time, I was already one of the best closers in the country in other industries. I just wanted to learn the solar cycle. So I knocked on doors for, I say, good 3 months, trying to see what the objections are and all that. I was making $50, I think $100 for every sold deal.
Oh
Sold
my
deal,
God.
plus
Oh my
minimum
God.
wage. And I didn't mind. I mean, I just sold a business, so I had some money to I was just killing time basically and learned the solar business the hard way. So I remember my good friend who was my manager at that time. I owe him a lot, and he taught me a lot of things. Got me involved in solar. He challenged me, and he didn't know me any better. He said, "Why don't go to that door and see if you can get an appointment." You really want me to do this in front of him? He said, "Yeah." He waited in the car. I walked in. I walked back in like 10 minutes, and I said, "Here, we got an appointment tomorrow at 4 p.m." He said, "How the hell did you do that?" I said, "I'm the Jedi of solar. These are not the droids you're looking for." But it's like I said, it's all about technique. It's all about skill sets. It's all about training yourself. I mean, that's the solar mindset. That's a sales mindset. You just don't go in blind. You train yourself. Every word you say, every sentence that I say is predefined. Like a lot of people that trained mentor doing in Power, they say, "I just noticed that everything, the whole presentation that you had from last time to this presentation, they're identical." I said, "Yeah, my presentation is identical. So everything I say is already predefined to elicit specific responses from the customer."
It
And
sets
when you
up
have
the next step.
yes, and when you have a predefined customer, a predefined presentation, the results are predictable.
Yeah, well, I learned that a long time ago. It's like if you say your pitch the same way every single time, then you're going to get the same responses
Exactly.
every single time. And if you're only getting, if you only get like, 3, 4 different objections because you're saying it the same way, then you're used to those objections and you know how to overcome those objections. You become masterful about how to handle those. Nothing new comes at you, right?
Bingo.
So you are
You
kind of
got
like
it.
You're like Neo from the Matrix at this point. You see it
Exactly.
coming, right? Like you
You're
you
doing
control
this,
the
you're doing
conversation.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Everything that we say as professionals is predefined. There's no
Yeah,
guesswork.
if you're throwing mud at the wall and doing it differently every single time, you're going to get different objections every single time you pitch. And now you're all over the place and you're not in control. Yeah.
I gotta
So,
move to another
oh,
location because I'm getting rained on. Welcome to the
oh
Philippines.
man. Life in the Philippines.
Welcome to the tropical rainforest. And this rainfall have you'll have showers for like 10 minutes and then it'll go away. But let's find a
This is
nicer
awesome.
place where I am here. There you go.
Yeah, it was like blue skies and birds chirping, and then next thing you know, you're getting dumped on.
That's what it's all about.
So, how did you get into solar sales? I mean, you've been in sales for a long time, sold a lot of different products. Who introduced you into solar sales? How did you get into it?
I was actually in within business. I just sold a business. One thing you guys need to know about me is I came to the US 1983. That's 41 years ago. And in 41 years, I have never taken a paycheck. I've either run my own business, or do 1099s. I don't have withholding taxes. So when I just sold my last business, I was in between doing nothing, got tired of sleeping, doing nothing, watching TV. I saw an ad about solar in the newspapers. I just went there. I didn't tell them that I had this much experience. So the first thing they did for me, as the first job they gave me, is here's this guy he's older than most of the other guys applying for work, and we don't think. I mean, the person interviewing me was like in his late 20s. I was in my early 60s then, and she put me to work, just knocking on doors, getting appointments. I said, I don't mind. I'll just knock on doors. I didn't know anything. So that's how I got started. And then that company kind of had, like in the solar industry, they had financial problems. 3-4 months into it, and I quit. The person that recruited me said, I'm moving to this other company. Do you want to work with me? Do you want to go with me? I said, hell yeah. I mean, if this company's going under, I'll just see what else I can learn. That's when I got into the Freedom Forever bandwagon. And that's
And what year was
where
that?
I did a lot of my business.
What year was that?
I would say 2018, maybe late 2018,
In 28.
29, early
And then
2019.
and things were going good for you, right? I mean, I think I recall you saying, I mean, you were the top sales rep, number one closer, all that. So everything's going good for you. Why did you make the transition over to Powur?
It was I was getting burned out. I mean, I was writing a lot of deals because they were giving me leads. I was getting a lot of leads from. I was getting like 2 to 3 leads a day from this company, and I was driving one house to the other. I mean, I was writing a lot of deals. I would close at least one deal a day. Sometimes I'd call. There are times when I would close all 3 appointments in one day. But I was just driving so much. I mean, I'd start my day leave my house at 8 in the morning. My first appointment at 10 o'clock. Last appointment won't be until 7 in the evening. I don't get home till like 10 in the evening. It was a long day. I mean, I didn't complain because, I was making money. I will not go home without a sale. I mean, so I was writing minimum 30 deals a month, sometimes 60, sometimes 70 deals a month. But it came to a point where I just needed change. My body couldn't take it anymore. I blew the engine on my Cadillac. Let's put it that way. I had a beautiful Cadillac, man, an STS. I blew the engine because I was putting so much miles into it. And that's I took a break, and then after I got a phone call from somebody from Powur that used to work with me at Freedom. That was Don Crawford and Jeff Martin. We used to work together, and he said, "Why don't you work with us?" And it took me a while to grasp this new business concept that I don't work in red lines anymore. It's all about profit share. But once I started looking at the numbers, I'm making 20 times more than I used to make driving appointments from one to the other. 10 to 20 times more at least. And I jumped in full bore. And then COVID hit. I decided to join, and I said, let me just go on vacation to the Philippines, and I'll be back. I was in the Philippines 2020 January, and COVID hit, and I came back February before I got locked out, and we were locked down, so there was no business. And that's when I decided. I realized that people are home, their electric bills are high, they can't leave, everyone's home, so the bills are high. And let me just try, virtual selling, because I sold virtually in my other businesses in the past. I was selling websites for Catholic churches all across the U.S., and I was just selling work. And my business was to build websites for them. I was doing it online. So I just took that skill set, put it into solar, and then I realized that closing solar on virtually is the way to go. First of all, it was a perfect storm. They were looking at, they used to pay $100, $200 a month electric bills. Out of their home, they're paying $600, $800 in electric bills. So I go in and do it virtually, and I started selling one after the other. And my closing ratio went up significantly. I mean, I was already a very good closer, and it went even up. I was looking at 80, 70, 80% closing on a virtual sale. I've never been in home since 2020. Never.
Wow.
Everything that I've done is all virtual, Zoom calls. I remember a conversation I had with someone who lived, I would say, a mile from my house. And this is already post COVID, May 2021, 2022. He said, "Can you come to my house and do this?" And no, I don't want to, endanger your family's health. Let's just do this online. He signed anyway. So I refused to go in home. Doing now that we're empowered, the other thing that it did for me is Powur's a national company. We sell solar all across the U.S. When I was doing it, door to door or going in home, I'm limited to my physical location, Southern
Mm-hmm.
California. I can't even go to Northern California. I can't even go to Central California. I was just limited to my local region, which is Southern California. But now that
Yeah, and
I'm,
if you had a deal up north, you'd have to find an install partner or
yeah,
sister company or something like that, and pass it on to somebody else to do the
or
sale, and then you
I
might
just
get
give it
like
up. I
a
can't
referral or
service it.
something.
I just won't go. But now that I'm selling virtually, I can sell. Northern California opened up all of a sudden. I used to dread San Diego because I have to drive 2 hours to get there.
Oh,
Now San Diego opened up, and then Northern California, then the whole of the United States opened up, and I'm doing it from my house. I don't have to leave, and making more money than I was, going in home. So those are the benefits of knowing how to sell and taking advantage of the opportunity, which is virtual closing. If you don't know how to close virtually, you're missing out on a very, very lucrative opportunity because it's a skill set. I would say it's the close ratios on virtual selling is higher than face to face in home. Because when we're virtual selling, all you see on your screen is my beautiful face smiling at you like this. And it is so much easier to get encouraged to make the right decision that will benefit you in the long term. When you're looking at me and I'm saying everything I say is exactly word for word what you need to hear. And then with that big smile, then you say, let's see if we can get your credit approved.
yeah, and they're focused and they're locked
And
in on
exactly,
you,
there's no children running
and
around.
yeah. I mean, sometimes in the background, but yeah, you know how to control that, and if they don't know if people don't know how to sell virtually, that's probably why they may be listening to the Virtual Solar Pro podcast, right? And
Yep,
listening to one of the best right now.
yep,
It's virtual sales absolutely, it's changed my life, it's changed your life, it's changed thousands of people's lives, and it's given us the ability, the flexibility for location independence, like yourself out in the
yep.
Philippines. Myself
It
gave
is
me and my
freedom, man.
family, yeah,
Freedom of location,
freedom
freedom
of time.
freedom of time, financial freedom. And working with virtual selling, you can work, you can choose where you want to work, when you want to work, and how much you want to make. It's up to you.
It
Now
totally
when
is.
I
Yeah, I
go
mean,
in
like
home, when I go in home, when I used to go in home, I would make sure that the mood was right for them to listen to my presentation. If they sit me in front on the couch, I said, let's move to the dining table. Because I want to, because if they're on the
or
couch,
kitchen
you
table.
don't
That's
control
where
it.
business is done.
Yeah, you go to
Correct.
the dining table. That way we can control what's going on. The same with virtual. If I see them sitting on the couch and on the Zoom call, first of all, if they don't turn on the video, I won't do the presentation. You gotta
Love
turn on
that.
your video, or you're wasting my time. I'm wasting your time. You need to see everything that I show you, so you can have a full understanding if this is right for you. For you to understand it, if this is right for you, you need to see everything I'm going to tell you. So we need your video. And if they
Oh
refuse to
yeah,
turn
dude,
it, I just say, sorry, I can't. I won't. I'm doing you a very big injustice if we don't do this without video. Oh, just tell me the numbers and sorry. Because that's not
doesn't
good. They're
work like
not going to
that.
buy anyway. So why do I waste my time with them? Right?
Correct. Yeah, I had a lady. We had an appointment. This wasn't even that long ago. It was like sometime last month. She flips on the camera. Well, first of all, she doesn't have the camera on, and as soon as it comes on, and she goes, "Hello, are you there?" I go, "Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you." And they go, "Oh yeah." If they say, "Yeah, I can't turn my camera on," I go, "Well, I have a lot of things to show you, and it doesn't really work unless you're able to turn your camera on." But she turned her camera on, and it was completely dark, and she was driving in her car.
Yep.
So first of all, that's
Yep.
first red flag. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm not going to present to somebody while they're driving.
Yep.
Then I said, is your husband with you? No, he's at work. Boom, that's second red
Yeah.
flag, right? I'm not going to present to somebody when both decision makers aren't there. So, I politely just said, "Hey, you know what? You're driving right now. It would be a lot better, definitely want to get your husband, on this as well. So that way you're not having to explain what I'm explaining to you. Why don't we set this up for a time when you guys are both there? Can you call him? When time does he get off? Oh, he gets off late. Well, that's fine. Why don't you give him a call and let's see what time works for him?" She said, "Okay, hold on." So I had her call her husband right there. He
Uh-huh.
said, "Oh yeah, I'll be home in about an hour." I tell you what, I have some other calls I can make. Why don't we reset this for an hour from now when you guys are both home in front of your computer? I'm framing it. And then, and we'll go from there. So sure enough, hour later, I rescheduled the appointment. Husband's now home. They're in their kitchen. It's all lit up. I have both of their attention. Went through everything. Next thing you know, we're signing paperwork, and we're
Exactly.
getting the deal. But that would not have happened had I just, chicken shit it out and was like, "Oh, okay, well, you're on here," and just kind of going through the motions, because she's not going to fully understand what I'm saying. She's not paying attention. Heaven forbid she gets in a car accident. You don't know. So, but it takes experience,
Yep.
to make those types of moves. I'm not afraid to lose a deal, because like you said, I'm not going to
And
close that sale. I'm not going to
you're
close that
not. You,
sale
you, the
anyways.
fo- the focus of the presentation is to get a signed agreement. That's the focus. And if you know right from the get go you're not gonna get it, I'm not gonna waste my time. Let's just schedule when you're. I don't want you. I'd say in that situation, I say, listen, I don't want you to get into an accident. I'd rather that you're at your home, relax, and that way a lot of information that I give you will you'll hear it better. And then okay, when's a good time? You schedule, but when you make a presentation, I make a presentation. It's all about the focus is on the goal. Sign the paperwork, and if they're not going to sign it, I'm not even going to make a presentation. I won't. People say, "Oh, it's a
No.
good place to solicit leads." I said, "No, I don't. I just close deals. When I make a presentation, it's already something that I pre-qualified. I have the electric bill. I know what's going on. So I don't make a presentation without an electric bill. If you guys want me to mentor a deal for
Oh,
you, no, you, Bill, you're not gonna have me make a presentation. You need electric
yeah,
bill.
you're
When you have
wasting your
electric
time.
bill, that's a sign of commitment to me. If they don't want to
Oh,
give
all the
electric
time. Yeah,
bill, they're
people.
not signing. I
But
don't want
yeah,
to
I
waste the
tell I
mentor's
tell
time.
new reps that. Yeah, I tell new reps that all the time. They say, "Yeah, they I don't have the electric bill yet, but do you think we can still put it together?" I said, if they're not willing to invest in downloading their electric bill to send to you so we could properly design a system for them, I'm not going to waste my time doing that. They're not going to commit, because if they can't invest that little bit of information, I mean, first
They're
of all,
not
it'd be a
signing.
disservice.
Yep.
They're
doing it-
definitely not signing.
Yep. They're
And
not
how could I
signing.
even
Don't-
properly design a system? You couldn't.
Exactly.
The
So,
only
so
time now, the exception to that, of course, is if it's a brand new home.
yeah.
Right? I sell brand new homes all the time, and then they
Yep.
don't have an electric bill, and that's a totally different situation. But yeah, if they have usage, like, why would they even want a solar quote if from somebody who doesn't even know how much electricity they use? You don't.
And so the goal of any presentation, if ever to close it, the goal is to close the deal. If
Sure.
if the circumstances make it like you won't be able to close the deal, just reschedule, or you're wasting your time. So
true.
that's a killer mindset. Not every presentation has to be made. You choose and pick the ones that will become money, because, like I said, it's you got to close the deal, you got to install it, and you got to get paid. You don't close the deal, you never get paid anyway. And getting paid is the most important part of this whole process, because you can close all the deals you want. If you don't get paid, then you don't get anything. That's why you quit, because there's no money in the coming in the bank. That's why a lot of people quit.
Absolutely. So you're selling. So now you're out in the Philippines and you're out there full time. You made the transition over to virtual sales, and you saw this opportunity, live anywhere in the world. You picked your slice of heaven. You're building this beautiful compound. Now you're selling virtually. What now, being out there, the fact that you're halfway around the world, what kind of challenges do you come up against? I'm sure there are some. I mean, it's not super easy, right? I would imagine the time zone difference might take a play into it. Wi-Fi or internet connection out there. So, I mean, first of all, are you doing deals in the middle of the night? You wearing pajamas? Like, how are you?
Well,
Talk
we all
to me
wear
about
flip
that,
flops.
about the time zone.
We all wear flip flops.
Flip-flops.
Even when I was in the US, it's all they see. But I had to adjust the time zone. My working hours would be like 5 in the morning here, which is like one. My ideal working hours are like 4 in the afternoon in the US. That's 8 p.m. 8 a.m. here. So my hours would be I say from 6 a.m. to around 10, 11 a.m. And then the US is sleeping, so I just do other things. So those are my ideal working hours. Now, Wi-Fi is an issue in the Philippines. Yes, it's available, but just when you were starting this Zoom, I lost you a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I do a Zoom call and it just reconnects, because I lose you know, I lose the momentum. And when they're ready to
Oh, yeah.
sign, or I know they're ready to sign, and then I reconnect, I got to start all over again, and that's frustrating for me. Though I'm looking forward to. Doesn't not happen all the time, but I would say 50% of the time it happens. I'm looking forward to getting my Starlink.
Yeah, Elon's got to drop you some
Yeah,
Starlink over there. Now, is it available? Is it readily available in the Philippines, or is it not yet?
it's
Or why
available.
don't you have it yet?
I'm hoping. I'm trying to wait to get it where I'm at the new house so I can install it permanently. But my wife's been telling me just get it in the next 30 days. We can always move it. It's transportable. It's portable. We can move it. So probably
Dude,
next 30 days we'll get it.
I ordered Starlink last summer. I got it for my RV. And so I could
Uh-huh.
take it with me. So when me and my family, we go camping and we're out in an isolated area, dude, I turn that bad boy on, point it up to the stars. I got blazing high-speed internet. I can make connections while I'm on the road. You can't be the virtual solar pro unless you got internet everywhere you go. And what's cool about Starlink is you can turn it on and turn it off, right? So if I know, hey, we're going to be camping this summer, I could flip it on and just pay for a few months. And then if I know we're not going to be out and about and I don't need it, I can then at that time turn off the subscription. So you might want to look into that. I mean, I would recommend that. And once you get the permanent one, I'm sure you could sell your Starlink model. I think it's like I'm trying to think of how much I paid for it. It was like $5.99 or something like that
we're actually looking into it. So those are some of the physical challenges of working in a third world country like I do. Now, the other challenge working for me is, I think I mentioned this. I want to touch on this, which is another important thing. One of my mentors, when I was starting out my businesses, in the '90s, he was one of real millionaires that I know. And at that point, he told me, he said, "Wally, it's not how much you make; it's how much you keep." And that always stuck with me. Like I'm making this all this money on the business, and I'll see reps that talk to me and said, uh, or they drive around in a Lamborghini or a nice Mercedes, and I said that's all nice, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can make so much for the year, but if nothing left at the end of the year, it doesn't do you any good. And that's the reason I'm actually in the Philippines, because the cost of living here is so cheap. It's 50 pesos to the dollar. I mean, yesterday, me and my wife had a 1 hour massage for $4 for a 1 hour massage. That's why we go twice a week. The food here
I
is
thought you
so
were going to say
cheap.
go twice a day.
The food here is so cheap. So imagine if you made $1 million in the US. For you to live a lifestyle that I can live in the Philippines, you need to work 55 times harder. You need to earn 55 times harder. $1 million in the US is 55 million in the Philippines. For 2 hour massages, how many massages can you get? So it's getting to a point where, because I'm living a lifestyle that I don't feel like writing 30 deals or 40 deals a month anymore. Because first of all, the money's already in the bank. I mean, I have cash in bank. I've already earned it. And now I'm spending less and less of that money. And then it goes way longer. I had a conversation with one of the top reps in Power. And I asked him, how long before you get to the millions? I'm going to get to it this year. And I said, now let me ask you, how much is in the bank? And he said, well, that's my regret. I should have kept more. I should have not have traveled first class, stayed in all these five-star fancy hotels. Because at the end of the year, I worked so hard, but yes, I enjoyed it, but there's a little bit left. I need to keep working. And that's the advice that I would give to everyone. You don't have to move to the Philippines like me.
Sure.
But whenever you make, a decent amount of money and a good opportunity like this, don't splurge it on Mercedes Benzes and Lamborghinis, because you don't know. I've been in business for 40 years. I've seen business, rise. The ebb and tide of business. I've seen it. I've had business, and then the next year it's gone. You really need to set money aside. Don't spend it.
Oh,
Go on vacations, but you don't have to fly first class. You know, yes, the nice 5-star hotels are great, but why? I mean, it's just a place to sleep anyway. I go to a
sure.
resort; it's just a bed and bathroom. Why spend $1,000 in a room when a $150 room is just as good? You know what I mean? So
Brother,
that's
you
the
got
advice
out of
I
the
would give a lot of people. Is
Yeah, I was gonna say you got out of the U.S. in the nick of time. I'm telling you right now, it is brutal. The cost of living, inflation is it's crushing everybody. And I was talking to somebody who very successful in the industry, and we all make great money doing what we do, especially if you're good at it. And I was telling her, I said, I don't know how the hell people are surviving, with regular jobs right now. Here we are, in solar sales making great money. And it's, tough for us right now, let alone, if you were working some W-2 position, making $50,000, $60,000, if you have a family, it's rough. And so for you, and I love that about virtual sales, virtual solar sales, giving you the ability for location independence and geo arbitrage, where you can pick another destination where your money stretches further,
Yep.
and you make, the same amount of money in the US, but yet it's, 5, 10, 20, in your case 50 times worth, right? But able to do that, because if you didn't do what you're doing, if you were working in the Philippines, you'd be making pesos, and you'd be struggling out there. I mean,
Yep.
obviously you're talented. You'd figure out a way to make it happen, but there's no way you can make US dollars like that
No,
out in the
I can't.
Philippines unless
So
you're
I
working
live the best
virtually.
of both worlds. I earn in dollars and I spend in
Totally.
Philippine pesos. But if I was in the U.S., as much money as I was making, I'll have to work extra hard just to make sure that I can keep up with the expenses. If depending on the lifestyle I want. But still, it's a lot easier to just l- earn this much and don't spend this much. Spend this and keep the difference. Keep that in the bank, because there'll come a point where you guys will reach my age, and you're thinking of retirement. Like I'm a couple of years from retirement, but still, it's like I gotta make sure I have money in the bank, and that's what this is all about. And
I
that's
think
why I'm
that's
here.
great advice. I think that's great advice. For people getting into the industry, especially young people who get into the solar industry and they start making big money real quick. They start flashing it. They start spending it. It's
Yep.
called a solar coaster for a reason, man. I mean, the goods are goods, but when it dips down, it's like, I hope you put a few bucks away in the bank to get you through the rough times, and we're seeing that now in the solar industry. You're on Facebook and you're part of all the solar pros groups, and you're seeing it. It's tough times for a lot of local
Yep. And
installers, a
and we
lot
are
of
very
companies.
fortunate that we are with
Oh
an
yeah,
organization like Power that is really primed to ride this thing out and primed for growth. I mean, I'm not just a rep for Power. I'm a stockholder. I put my mouth where my money is. Me and my friends, when Power offered common stocks, we all bought in many, many, many thousands of dollars because we believe in what Power is doing. So I have full confidence in this management team that they can take advantage of all these challenges and make Power the one company left standing that will take over this entire industry. And when they go public, and I say when, and I'm looking forward to it, then I can say I hooked onto Amazon when it was only $20, per share.
yep.
So that I hooked onto Power. It was this low, and now it's this high. But I invested my money in this company, so I want this company to grow. It will thrive. I'm very confident in this company. I'm confident in the organization. I'm confident in the leadership and the management team. It is beyond reproach in the whole solar industry. If there's anyone that could push a company, solar company, to the highest level, it's this management team. It's an all-star management team, from the CEO Jonathan Budd all the way down to everyone. It's just a very, very impressive organization, and my hat's off to them
Well, yeah,
because I'm here doing what I do because of what they allowed me to have, an opportunity to make good living and live life the way I want it on my own terms and condition. That's why I'm in the Philippines. That's why I'm still at Power, because that's what you guys have. That's what I have.
man. Well, look, Wally, dude, I appreciate you so much. And taking the time out of your very busy morning
Yeah, right.
to come on here.
Actually, I do like
No,
one or two appointments a week, and that's it. At the most,
yeah,
I do
no,
two.
you.
I do like one appointment a week, and I'm good with that at this point. At this point,
Yeah, well, you're living semi-retired. You're living your
exactly.
dream,
I'm
and
living
but
semi-retired.
but you have the ability to work when and where you want to, and all because of virtual solar sales. So, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But, dude, I love you. I appreciate you coming on here and blessing the audience with your great story. And uh, dude, I look forward to you taking a 16-hour flight. Actually, it's going to be a
You should.
19-hour flight, because in Power World, it's in Orlando, Florida this year in September. we're going to hook up and break some bread, man. So
Yep.
thanks
that's
for coming on the
September.
Virtual Solar Pro podcast, brother.
Thanks, Jarrett. Hello, everyone at
All right.
Powur US. I love you all. It's more fun at
Right
Wally
on.
World.
That it is. All right, you guys. Wally Arita, everybody. Appreciate you. Oh, and really quick, before I let you go, God, it almost slipped. Where, if people want to connect with you, how can they find you? Are you on? You're on Facebook, Instagram. You want to drop your socials?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on WhatsApp. I'm on YouTube, WallyWorld in the Islands. Or you could just check out my virtual website. It's gosolar at wallyworld.com.
Beautiful. All right, man. Hey, I appreciate you.
Oh, no, I'm
Stay
sorry.
dry.
Gosolar at wallyarita.com.
There you go. Okay. It's not
Go
Wally
Solar,
World.
wallyarita.com. Yep.
Okay. Go solar at wallyarita.com. All right, you guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you, brother. And we will see you on the next episode of the podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Peace out.
Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. You can also follow me on the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. All those links will be listed below. Now, if you're looking to get started on the path to selling solar virtually, look no further than Powur. Powur is a decentralized solar platform that gives you the ability to sell 100% virtually in 25 plus states and growing. Their platform gives you the advantage to offer your clients a variety of different panels, inverters, roofs, batteries, and even EV chargers. Brands include Enphase, SolarEdge, Tesla, Franklin, and Span Smart Panels. Powur offers multiple zero-down financing options, including loans, PPAs, and leases. And with their revolutionary cost of goods sold model, 5 different streams of income, and world-class training, there is nothing else like it in the solar industry. If you're looking to get started, go to powur.com. That's powur.com/virtual solar pro/join and start selling solar virtually today.